What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Art Shack. In this video and in this videos to follow, I'm going to be showing you how to draw the mountains in the mist in full real time. I've gotten a lot of comments on this video saying, I really like what you've done, but I wish you would do it in real time, which I can really understand, especially, because I'm always looking to draw, and I always like to see the real-time tutorials just so that I can follow what's going on. And I know that it's only natural just to see things happen in real time, just so that you can get, absorb the most out of it. And I understand that, and believe me, I get it. But it's the only thing that I was having issues with was having a 3-hour video just kind of sitting on my channel. I know a lot of the Hangout videos that I did a while back were that long. And the only thing I was having with that is, if you look around on YouTube, you will most likely find that the majority of the videos are around 3 to 5 minutes or so, something like that. And there's a reason for that. It's unfortunate, but the attention span of a lot of the viewers on YouTube, is only about 3 to 5 minutes before they switch and go to something else, which really presents a challenge for people like me that do instructional videos. It's always tricky to get everyone to really want to sit there and watch and learn. So what I decided to do was break up this series into 7 or 8 videos, depending upon how things go. But at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be 8 videos, just to kind of break everything down into its single elements. And that way, every video will have a clear topic. So even the people that aren't really interested in perhaps drawing this image can come in and watch the video specifically on that specific aspect, and just kind of come in and get what they need and then move on. So I want to cater to the masses for this one, just so that everyone can sort of get what they're looking for. And hopefully, I'm really hoping that this one goes over well with everyone. So this was an idea that I got a couple nights ago, because like I said, I don't want to have a 3-hour video just sitting, because I'm worried that it'll kind of go unseen. So I brought up the idea with everyone on my Facebook page, just kind of asking, what would you kind of like to see if I were to do like this whole series, and I suggested the idea if I do multiple videos, and here's what I plan to do in each video. And everyone, gave the post a thumbs up and commented that, that they liked the idea. And I also asked, what sort of things would you like me to focus on? And got quite a few comments for that. So if you're not on my Facebook page, or if you're not currently following it, that's probably the second most source that I give my attention to as far as the social media goes. It's just the easiest way to really get in touch with everyone. I have Twitter and Google and whatever else is out there. I have a couple others. I just don't remember what they are because I hardly ever use them. I just never really got into them. And the only one that really took off with the fan base was my Facebook page. So that's the one I usually pay the most attention to. And there's a lot of people that send me messages on there, and will post up what they've worked on, which is really cool. That people can send me stuff that they've worked on, and every once in a while I'll get one of a drawing that people did of what they learned from one of my tutorials, which I think is really cool. But it's just really neat. It's just a whole new way to connect with everyone. So if you're not following me on there, I suggest maybe you should. We always have a good time. So I'm usually on there. Every once in a while I'll kind of leave it hanging for a week or two, but I try not to. Okay, so with this drawing, what I'm using is Canson's 11 by 14 80-pound classic cream. I know that's a whole mouthful of words there, but so we'll go over it again. It's 11 by 14 paper. It's 80-pound drawing paper, which is, I find, usually pretty good as far as drawing, because it's thicker paper. If I lift it up, give it the shake, you can kind of hear that thick paper. And here's like more of like a sketch paper. You can hear the difference. Actually, I'll use this as a reference. This has a slightly yellow tint to it, and this is very, very white. So hopefully you can kind of see the difference here between the two. And the reason why I like to use the more yellowish tinted paper is because it kind of gives the end result drawing more of an aged sort of look. It makes it look like one of those old style photographs, and I just think it's really cool. So that's mainly the reason why I like using it. And also, with it not being such a stark white, it really helps to calm down the highlights. It really makes it much more aesthetically pleasing to look at. Instead of having something that is just so white and washed out, it makes the highlights sometimes really strong. And don't get me wrong, if that's your complete intent with what you're doing, then absolutely go for it. But it's just one of the personal preferences that I've built up, and it's just what I enjoy to do. Now this mountain, I think I made a little bit too low. Let's see, I can kind of put it over what I've done so far and kind of see where I'm at, which it's kind of hard to tell with this middle mountain here, but it looks like it needs to be a lot higher up. But it's kind of hard to tell. So that's what I was kind of working on here. So with this video, it's going to be the sketch of everything. I know it's 6 minutes in and I'm finally telling you what this video is going to be about. So I'll put it in the title as well, so that way everyone knows what they're getting themselves into here. So this is going to be the main sketch. And the purpose of this is not to get everything detail for detail, but it's just to get the rough shape of everything and get them placed, where I would like them to be. So that way, when you start adding in the details, there's no surprises. Everything's where it's supposed to be, and everything, it's smooth sailing all the way to the completion of the image. Now, keep in mind that this image probably won't be the exact copy, or it. Detail for detail, line for line, it's not going to be the exact as this, but I can tell you it's going to be pretty close. So I hope it's going to be pretty close. I'd be kind of annoyed or disappointed if it didn't. But that's one of the things sometimes is when you're copying from reference or doing whatever, there's usually one point or two of the image that is always complicated to do. And more times than not, whenever I come across one of those areas in the drawing, that's when I usually say, all right, well, because I know I'm going to have a hard time with that, I usually decide to draw something different in that same spot. So don't even if you're drawing this, if let's say you don't like this type of trees or the type of clouds, feel free to add in your own type. It's in the end, it's going to be your drawing if you should decide to go along with me with this. So just keep that in mind. You're the artist, so you can always add in what you like. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to get the general outline of these mountains just the way that I want them to be. And that can sometimes be harder than it seems sometimes. I'm just being kind of critical over my sketch right now, even though I really shouldn't, because like I said, this is just a sketch, just for general placement of objects. But that's the way I've always been. I always like the initial sketch to be relatively the same as what I'm referencing from. So. Gosh, I've realized that sometimes talking and drawing can be hard. I don't know if you ever tried it, but it can sometimes be difficult. I sometimes lose track of what I'm trying to say. Alright, but besides from that. So here's the general rough shape of the mountains. I know it doesn't look... Actually, you know what? These mountains look awesome. They much better than those, right? No, I'm just kidding. These are just the rough sketch of the mountains. So... you can always change them later on, but as far as from right now, I'm probably going to end up keeping them the way they look. It's just this mountain here always gets me. The way that I did it, I really like the way I did it, especially the way I shaded it in. It's almost like it's not even there, but when you really look at it, you can really see it and be like, wow, that really adds to the image. But replicating that, I'm having a lot of trouble with. Okay, well, I can always change it later. It's going to be something like that. It's not the same shape or even the same length, but it's okay. Like I said, it's not going to be the exact copy of this, but it's going to be pretty close. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to, sort of suggest is the mist, which really, it's right about here. Also, keep in mind, I have a vanishing point, right, it's actually way off the image, and from what I can see, way off the camera. But it's right about here, but about a little whiles way away from there. So basically what vanishing point is, there's one vanishing point within this image. A vanishing point is where all the objects converge into a single point and kind of disappear. And the most simple explanation or example I can give of that is a railroad track. If you look at a railroad track, you see the two rails, and they kind of come in to a point at the end, and they disappear. It's the same here, except instead of the vanishing point being in the middle, it's off to the side. So everything is going to converge to that. If I were to make a line connecting these mountains down to here, if I were to do that, I would make a line going, pretty steeply down like that. And it has the same effect on the riverbank, which, if I were to look at this reference image down here, look at the bottom of the page and then kind of measure up to here, I mean, I can kind of guesstimate that it's going to be right about there. And so this line will kind of come up around something like that. I think it's a little less so. Something a bit more like that. Alright, just erase out the line we don't need. Use the fancy dancy paintbrush. It's always good to keep one of these handy, just to erase, or not erase, just says, since when do paintbrushes erase, right? But no, it's just to kind of wipe away those eraser shavings. It really helps to do that. Alright, so I'm going to add in where the land meets the trees. It's happening roughly right about here. Something like that, and then it kind of meets with this line. See, over here, it's kind of hard to tell what happens because you can't really tell what's going on. So, something like that. And then the tops of these trees, I'm going to indicate with this line, something like this, and these trees really come close to that line there. It's going to be something roughly like this. And then the mist, it really comes down into here, something like that. But I'm not too worried about the bottom of the mist layer. I'm really more concerned with the top. So it's something like this, and this mist really travels up in those mountains, but I don't want to, show that here because it's just going to add confusion. So I'm just going to add in the general area of where that happens. So it's generally something like this. I know these lines are relatively light, and hopefully if you full screen the video, hopefully it'll show up a little bit better. But just keep in mind as well that these lines aren't in perfect placement, nor should they. They don't have to be. Like I said, it's just mainly to get the placement of all the objects down. Alright, so I'm going to move the drawing up a little bit, as well as the drawing. I'm going to draw in the bottom portion of the drawing here. Alright, I have a big rock there, which I'm just going to sort of indicate with just a simple line. Something like that. Alright, and this... Wow, this line really arcs up and around. I know sometimes when drawing from reference, it's sometimes hard to tell how a line really should be drawn because of all the detail and everything that's around it. And I made a video, I think it's called How to Start a Sketch, where I took a photo reference and marked it up with a permanent marker, just bringing out the main lines within the drawing, just to sort of give you another way to draw from reference. That way you can really kind of see how the lines are and how they look and everything like that. So there's a big rock coming out over here. Now this shoreline is actually going to bow in a little bit more, but I don't have to be too critical of how it looks. It actually bows in, and this part happens more about here. But like I said, it's not too big of a deal. Something like that we can always change later on, but it's gonna be something like that. All right, so also too, what's really good about drawing from reference is I have the reference image here, my actual drawing here. So while I'm drawing, I'm looking back at the reference a lot. So that really helps me to get the placement of everything. So this tree, I'm looking at the tree here, and it's meeting up with this mountain here, and there's about an inch of space here between the edge of the mountain and this. But keep in mind, it's the tree can be placed anywhere. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, and it has a slight lean to it. Not very much, but has a slight lean. And it's not going to meet up with the line that I initially placed, but that's not that big of a deal. Actually, I think I'm gonna move everything that I did over a little bit, just to kind of give me a little bit more room here. And I find, with the sketching process, a lot of it can be problem solving, because you have to fit in certain objects, and it has to be in relationship, or and meet up with everything else that you have. So even though, let's say I have the mountain placed, and if I have it off a little bit, I'll notice it when I start drawing in other objects. So that's what's great about drawing in the sketch, because you can really sort of gauge where things are supposed to be, and you can always change it up, because it's still the sketch. It's very easy to go in and erase something and change it. So this tree is the tallest tree, and I need to make it straighter. Or no, it's not that big of a deal. But I'm going to go in and sort of straighten it up a little bit. Sort of leave it. I'm just going to leave it like that. But these trees for right now, I'm just going to kind of make with the line. That way I know where the trees are. And now because I know that there are trees here, anything behind these trees, I'm not going to add a lot of detail, nor am I going to really shade in very heavily. Main reason being, and a lot of you may have experienced this, but when you add in a lot of detail where you want a tree to be, what happens is you actually dent the page with your pencil. Let's say if you really start shading in all this here, when you start adding in the details for the tree, you'll see all those pencil scratch marks through the tree. And so that could be relatively bad. So now that you have everything placed, you can kind of tell, when it comes to landscapes, the clouds are the furthest in the background, so they're always completed first. So next video, I'm going to cover how to draw the clouds. And then it's usually the mountains, and then the mist, then the trees, then the water, then the foreground, and which the trees go in last. But you have to remember that, since we have everything placed for the trees, we know that we shouldn't place too much detail or press too hard where the trees are going to be, because you'll see that detail right through the tree. So with these trees basically drawn here, and keep in mind too that you'll hardly even see this tree here. This is going to be the tree that is in front of everything else, this main tree, and then this one's off and it's lonesome, and this one's kind of covered. Alright, so with that everything done, I'm going to roughly place in the clouds here. And this one being the largest, I guess the largest cloud. They're all pretty large. So this one comes up, and then it comes back down again. I'm drawing in some awesome clouds right here. No, don't worry about it. This process here is what I always do for drawing my clouds. Basically, what happens is I use this very, very rough drawing for clouds just to help me with shading in everything in between the clouds. That way I don't shade over where I want the clouds to be, because that could be relatively hard to erase. And it helps me to be able to make the sky really dark and then I start to add in all that detail into the clouds. So it's really just a technique that I've developed over the time. And wow, this cloud really comes over way too far. See, I noticed that cloud looked fine, but when I decided to draw this cloud in, it was just over way too far. Alright, so this one sort of comes in and around like this. Alright, so I know that this cloud and this, about this far apart. So I'm going to draw that side in first and then have it come up. I'm going to have it come up and kind of come around like this or something. Change it up a little bit. Alright, and this cloud actually, it comes down really close, down into here. And then it meets up with this one here. Alright, so I'm going to erase what's in here. And just like that. So, I know this drawing looks awesome, doesn't it? No, it's like I said, it's just the rough drawing that helps me to set up for this one. So, like I said, the main sketch, the idea of it is just to get the placement of everything. So, I have the mountains, I have the mist, sort of indicated in here. Then I have the tree line, the riverbank, the river, the foreground with the trees. So basically everything is here. The only things I don't have, are like some of the rocks and things, but that's all finishing details and final touches to the image. Next video, I'm going to be covering in full detail how to draw in clouds, very similar to this one. It should look relatively the same. I'll move the drawing down so you can see the whole thing. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and please be sure to subscribe so that way you can catch the full series. So if you enjoyed this one, please give me a thumbs up. Just keep in mind, every video, it's going to be a continuation. So next video, I'm going to be drawing the clouds, then it's the mountains, so it's pretty much going to work my way down the page as the videos progress. So hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. It always helps out, and I will see you all later. Take care.